Plants are living things. Most of them are green. In sunlight, green plants make oxygen. Without them, we wouldn't be able to breathe. Plants need water too. But the funny thing is, they hardly seem to need anything else except light and water. Suppose you weighed a plant and all the water you were going to put on it. What would you expect to happen to the mass after a few days or weeks? How do plants grow? They build themselves up from carbon dioxide in the air and from water. Plants not only make the oxygen that we breathe, they also grow new leaves by using the carbon dioxide that we breathe out. So if you weigh a plant and all its water, you'll find it gets heavier and heavier. And that's important for us because some plants provide us with food.
£25 a pound, Johnny Smith. £25 a pound.
Some people eat mainly vegetables. And vegetables are just plants. Even the grandest of meals are made mostly from vegetables. And from meat. But where does meat come from? Meat comes from animals, and animals eat plants. All our food comes from plants or from animals that eat plants. For many animals, the most important food is grass. Here it is growing, though really it grows thousands of times more slowly than this. For people, the most important food plants are the cereal crops, like barley, rice and wheat. Many people in hot, dry countries live mainly on sorghum. They pound the sorghum grains into flour and make it into porridge. They also turn some of it into beer. Sorghum provides food for millions of people in the drier parts of China, India, and especially Africa. It grows well in hot places as long as there's a bit of water. But in some parts of Africa, there's been terrible drought. No rain for years. When it's too dry, the sorghum won't grow. The people living in this village have run out of food completely. Their only hope is to pack up their things and leave, hoping to find food somewhere else. How do plants grow? How do you think scientists could help to provide food for people like this? What do you think plants need to grow? What fair tests could you do to try and find out? The first thing you need is a control, one group of plants growing normally. These scientists are growing turnips in 5 troughs. They give the control trough the normal amount of water and light. They treat each of the others differently, so they can test the effects of 4 variables. One variable is the amount of water in the soil. For one trough, the soil is carefully dried. No water will be added to the dry trough, but how would you test to make sure the soil is dry to begin with? Fertilizer is added to another trough. As well as light and water, plants need minerals from the soil. If the soil hasn't got enough to start with, then it may help to add some more. One of the troughs is left in the dark under a black box. How well do you think the plants will grow without any light? The others are left out in the sunlight. 3 go on the windowsill inside the greenhouse. The last trough is left outside where the temperature is lower.
22 Celsius.
But there's the same amount of sunlight.
882 naught lux.
What do you think will happen? After 3 days, the 5 troughs all look different. The control plants are about 2 centimetres high. The ones left outside have hardly sprouted. Those given fertiliser look thick and bushy. The dry ones haven't grown at all, and the plants in the dark have gone all yellow and straggly. Inside the greenhouse, about 27 Celsius. Outside, roughly 21. Temperature is an important variable. What would you expect to happen to each of the troughs after another week under the same conditions? And if you did an experiment like this, how many ways can you think of to measure and record your results? This is a time-lapse film of beans growing. Each day has been squashed into about 5 seconds of film. You can see each new day as a blue streak down the left-hand side of the picture. At night, the leaves droop, but in the morning light, they spring up. You can actually see the plants growing. Scientists who study food plants are most interested in the yield, that is, the amount of food they produce. How do you think they measure the yield? They harvest a known amount of plants. There are several ways of measuring the yield. You can check the number of heads on each plant. You can weigh the grains from a given number of plants. Or you can count the grains. Which do you think would be the most useful? Scientists also want to know how well the plants take up minerals from the soil. The samples are dried in the oven, ground into powder and sent off for analysis. Why do you think she's wearing this special helmet? Plants get all their minerals and water through their roots, so it's important to know both how many roots there are and also how the numbers vary with depth. They push a steel tube 1 metre down into the earth and then pull out a sample of the soil. This is divided into 10 centimetre lengths. Each one is carefully washed and all the roots are collected in fine sieves. Measuring the total amount of roots helps them find out what methods of cultivation are most effective. What could you learn by using a shade structure that cuts out half the light? And what else would you like to be able to measure? Some scientists are working on new ways of growing plants. You might think these tomatoes are growing in wonderfully rich soil, but actually there's no soil at all. The roots are just hanging in water. This is called hydroponics. The supply of minerals is carefully controlled. Why do you think experiments like this might make it easier to find out what plants really need? For most people, the vital thing about plants is that they provide food. The world needs more food, so we need to grow more plants. There are some places where plants won't grow. In other places, you can't stop them. This is tropical rainforest. Could we persuade food plants to grow in this hot, damp climate? Some people have tried. But first, they have to clear the forest. The tree trunks are useful, but the rest has to be burned. What problems do you think this might cause? Food crops are planted in the clearings, and for a year or two they do well. But quite soon the yields fall because the minerals in the soil get used up. And there's another problem. When the tropical rain falls in the forest, the tree roots hold the soil in place. But when it pours down on open ground, it washes the soil away. This is called erosion. One thing that does grow well in hot places is sugarcane. Sugarcane is a cash crop. You can't live on a diet of sugarcane, but what you can do is send it to the factory and convert it into money. Rich countries pay good money for sugar, but how does this help the people who grow it? Inside these ripe yellow pods are cocoa beans, another cash crop. You can't live on cocoa beans, but you can get good money for cocoa butter and for chocolate. But do we really need chocolate? Sugar and chocolate are luxuries. What people really need is food. China has the biggest population of any country on Earth. Many Chinese people live in small villages and they grow things on a small scale. This is called subsistence farming. Each village grows only the food that it needs. They don't try and sell it to the rest of the world. In America, it's different. This is the breadbasket of the world. American farmers feed not only all the people in America, but millions of others as well. Each American field produces about 5 times as much yield as an African field of the same size. This is partly because of all the fertilizer that they use. But this intensive farming is also very expensive in terms of energy and equipment. How can we use our knowledge and riches to help provide food for people who desperately need it, and to grow plants where none grow now? One dramatic way is to raise money. But how should we use the money? Do you think it's a good idea to buy new tractors for African farmers? What about the cost of spare parts and the fuel to run the tractors at all? What about cash crops? Do you think Africans would do better to grow things like sugarcane for money, or should they go for subsistence farming and grow food for themselves? So, if you had £1 million of Live Aid money, would you spend it on emergency food supplies or on long-term plans to improve the agriculture? How do you think a scientific eye can most help people who are starving? And what political problems might have to be overcome?